players, just to be a bit harsh, I guess. I don't really know how to sugarcoat it, but some of the Gold Series winners, it looked like a fluke because they came here and they underperformed. But Zhangbo was the opposite. He played pretty well, had a nice lineup, played very aggressive decks, and got through out of his group in first.
Yeah, and that sounds pretty sort of impressive set of achievements there as well. Um, just looking at what this warrior is, doesn't tell us much.
Right. The Grom is played on both XC so it doesn't really show that much. Though it is golden, so I mean, it's kind of nice to see that. But oh, there is the
Okay, so
unstable
it's
ghoul. So
almost certainly patron then. We do occasionally see that as one off to throw people off, but it's really rare. So
yeah, typically when you see it in a more controlly warrior, it indicates actually arena warrior, which I suppose Fuoliver. I mean, that wouldn't be too crazy to see Fuoliver do that. He's done some crazy stuff in the past, but going to be an attack from Zhangbo. Isn't really worried about giving his opponent any sort of battle rage potential. But
and
hmm.
this is the card that says don't play your aspirant. I mean, he hasn't got it, or he would have played it anyway. But yeah, so just developing it for the tempo there.
Yeah, I just want to get it
Um,
out now because he knows his next turn is probably going to be Acolyte of Pain, and then
mhm.
from there he might play the Korokon Elite, so he's going to need this 2 mana in the future, and doesn't really want to commit to this Unseeable Ghoul because it could be useful later. It could have been a normal play just to play out that Unseeable Ghoul, but if your opponent doesn't have a turn 2 play, they might not have a turn 3 play, and they just wrath that and you're giving them something to do. Unfortunately for him, Zhangbo did have something to do with this Shade, and we'll see now if Fuoliver commits to this Acolyte. I think I would, just because you want to bait out that. Oh, he's going to commit to this Inner Rage as well. I was thinking that just getting the Acolyte out there and not even Inner Raging would have been fine because if you get this Shade revealed, it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Excuse me. And I don't know, I think he feels like he needs to draw more cards because his hand's kind of doing nothing right now. So I think he's hoping to just get through his deck. Obviously, that's kind of what Patron does anyway, but it's also more of a tempo deck these days. So you do want to get some stuff on the board. And he had sort of very little to do with that hand.
Right.
Um,
Well,
so
unfortunately for Oliver here, there was a Wrath in the Hero Power, but it did prevent Zhangbo from playing his own minion in that Shredder. I suppose the Shredder dies a bit too easily to the board right now, and looks like it's just going to be a tempo Korokon Elite out here. After seeing that Wrath, it definitely makes sense just to throw that guy on the field, but not going to be able to charge into anything particularly important other than the face here.
and he did get the extra card by hitting his acolyte before it got wrath. So
Hmm.
and as we see Druid doing Druid things here, really terrifying when Druids get that Emperor because you just don't know what they reduce, and of course if they reduce the combo, you die really quickly. You have to be aware from it. Sort of from turn 7 onwards, you can just die out of the blue.
Exactly. Just casual innervate Thoris and just like you said, druid things. But kind of an awkward situation here for Oliver. I mean, he can use that whirlwind, but that's a really valuable card for later. And I mean, if you if you just throw the unseeable goal on the field, you're not really getting too much done. And also, you're allowing the Emperor to go for another turn, which is pretty bad. So, just going to be utilizing executes. There are some pieces here in Full Oliver's hand that he can use in the future, and just going to develop a board here.
At what point, if
Oh,
you're for Oliver, do you have to just say, my opponent doesn't have combo, I'm going to just play this and forget the combo exists? Like, he's almost at that point now, is how it feels.
well, yeah, you just start counting, how many cards they essentially have left, um, how many cards they've used, and now he's going to see 2 cards that have been discounted. So if you're Fool Oliver, you can basically count right now. There's only 2 cards left, which could be combo. Even if it's not combo, though, I feel like Fool Oliver has to play a bit defensively here. There's a lot of stuff on board.
Yeah, I mean, he if there's one fewer minions, he'd have a big decision to make because it's like, if he's got combo, I'm dead, but if I keep defending, I can't win the game because combo just becomes more inevitable, not less inevitable.
Right.
But for now, I think it makes sense to just tidy this up a lot, so he can do it. He hasn't got a particularly good play apart from Coin Boom anyway.
Right. Well, you could go for that though. I mean, this shade turns into a 6/3, which is obviously not great. But if your opponent's taking if your opponent's taking 7 damage, you could maybe race them. It's kind of scary for your opponent to just use hero power in the shade to kill off your Doctor Boom. And if you're not dead, that could be good for you. Although you
Yeah, I
might
mean,
I guess you might just trade this Korkan Elite into the shade instead of the Azure Drake. But yeah, it's a bit painful.
yeah. So he's
Wow.
going for the option that keeps him alive.
Yeah, and 3 minions on the board, just a Savage Roar is so much damage to his face, so it definitely makes sense here. Wrath coming out here for Zhangbo. I imagine he's going to draw with it. It has nothing really to do. He can actually swipe the face and use hero power to get rid of this Unseeable after wrathing for 1, which would be kind of interesting. Just get that aggression in.
Yeah, it would also put him down to 15, which is Innovate combo at least, especially again, it's combo because reduced
Well,
savage.
actually, it would
Well,
be 11 if you swipe the face here. But if you swipe the face and then you tag
yeah,
in with um, your pile of cheddar. But looks like it's just going to be Wild Growth to get to more mana and then hitting the face. I, I suppose he's bluffing that he has combo right now. But his
I think he
opponent...
just play Boom here, right, and hope.
Right, I mean, I don't... If you Grom, you're going to die to combo anyway.
Like Boom sets up a lot of ways to win next turn for you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can Grom next turn for the win, and set off the Boom bots. And or you could play Boom and set off the Boom bots if you felt lucky, but I think you just play Boom and wait.
You could play Boom and then and then use your Despite and then and then Whirlwind as well if you miss all this crazy stuff. But
But he is
let's
dead to double Savage Roar as well as combo if he
right.
does that. Um,
I mean, the thing is, if Fuoliver's paying attention, he knows that the or whatever card on the left is discounted. So he's not. Oh, looks like he's gonna go for this. Okay, so these boombots will actually hit the 2-drop that comes up here, which is a succubus, and kill it off. So the fact that it was a succubus didn't really matter in that instance.
of course, it now means he doesn't have the option to set up the Grom next turn so easily, though.
Right, but killing off that shredder, I mean, it could have been pretty dangerous here. And we do see that would have been lethal, I believe. 8, 12, yeah, it would have been lethal if he left that shredder alive. So ended up
That's
working
worked
out.
out nicely.
Right. This game is very close, actually. Do you go for cards here is the question. I suppose.
I think so because you've got so many ways to win the game with them.
Ooh, including that. And in fact, hero power won't save Fuoliver here.
So there's no way for him to win there. The way he played around the stuff that would have killed him that was from the hand, and the way he has ended up, he's going to lose to it anyway. So
The thing is, he knows that there's a card on the left that's discounted, right? So he knows he's dead to combo, but the thing is, he might die to other things other than combo if he doesn't kill off this Ancient of Lore. So it's not a complete dichotomy, right? I either die or I don't. There's some things that
and
actually
then
kill you
here
in
he
between.
can trade. Right here he can trade, play
Right.
the go face with the weapon and set up lethal next turn.
Right.
Um,
And that's going to be, unfortunately, Fuoliver is 1 turn off lethal in this case, and that's going to be it. Zhangbo has a pretty easy lethal there. Just play out that Force Nature, discounted Savage Roar, and Hero Power, and you win the game.
yeah, Fuoliver's hand never really got rolling there early on.
And this is pretty unfortunate for Oliver because this is a favored matchup. It used to be a bit closer when there were no threats in the deck other than your patrons and the frothings. But nowadays you have a pretty good mid game and you're able to kind of trade back and forth with the druid until you get your patrons out, which are basically impossible to deal with. So that's in a nutshell why the Patron Warrior is favored, but unable to get the win this game. And now Fuoliver is a little bit on the back foot. It's a bit difficult, whether it's Conquest or Last Hero Standing, to lose a favored matchup or even a mirrored matchup.
Yeah, so he's still got to get a win with that, and he's now got to beat possibly a Warlock. That could come up. He may have to beat a Paladin, which, depending on what Paladin it is, makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
What does he have? He has Priest himself as well.
By the way, one thing I want to bring up, which I forgot to bring up earlier, actually, is that Zhangbo was the only player, I believe, who brought Aggro Druid. So when Fuoliver saw Zhangbo open up with Druid,
Right.
he might have mulliganed a bit differently. I don't really remember what the mulligan was, but he might have mulliganed a bit differently, expecting that to be the case. But in any case, we do have the Zulok coming out of here from Zhangbo. Most like 95% it's going to be Zulok here. Whereas we have the Control Priest on the side of Fuoliver. And actually, mulligans his entire hand, wants to get those answers in hand, like the Akanai Circle.
You're saying Zhangbo played aggressively in the first round. Did he play Zoo? You said he played Aggro Druid. Did he play Zoo then as well?
I just remember it was it was 3 aggro decks and Patron Warrior. So it was, and I remember aggro Druid because no one else brought that. So I think
Yeah,
it was aggro Druid, Patron obviously, and probably I think it was Zoo and Mech Mage or something like that.
right. Because he did bring a Warlock. I noticed that in the recap, but he didn't say which Warlock, so it's probably Zoo.
Hmm.
Just wondering how Fuoliver will be prepared. So as you say, this time he's going to get what he expected, unlike the last game.
Hmm. So if you're Full over here, do you go for the Northshire into the powered shield? It is, I mean, it could just die to the board if a knife hits it, and that powered shield is very valuable in the hands of the Pyromancer. I mean, he could just kill off the knife juggler right now if he wanted to.
I think he might do that. I think he might go Pyromancer Coin Shield because honestly, I think the Northshire Cleric just dies so often now
Hmm.
to Zoo. I think you just can't let that juggler live. And
Right. And killing off the juggler is kind of nice. I mean, you're getting away with the coin, but you're also drawing a card and you're killing a guy off. It's pretty nice here, even if you're only killing one guy. You have so many more answers, by the way, in the priest deck that sometimes it's worth it just to, cycle through your deck rather than being super greedy and waiting for even more spells for the Pyromancer.
yeah, you just want to curve. He's like drawing that card gives him a good chance of getting on 3, and if he does that, he'll be fine. Or at least he'll be in the game. You know.
So this is actually a really interesting decision here for Zhangbo. He goes for the power of whelming, it looks like, but he could have maybe gone for really greedy play in that Light Warden. But I suppose killing off this Pyromancer is pretty important, especially if your opponent has more spells to utilize.
Yeah, Light One would be pretty hilarious. And there's a flash heal which could be really important on both ways here with those old Soul Priests or just a heal.
By the way, I do like this play here from Fuoliver, just playing up the Northshire Cleric, because what it does is it forces your opponent to deal with it, right? And that he might have a weaker turn by doing so. We've seen the power of whelming, and looks like Zhangbo's kind of bemoaning, his bad luck here. But I mean, what really was he expecting? Maybe an abusive sergeant? He had an easy way to kill it with the Defender of Argus. Obviously, you're only buffing up one minion, but this is pretty risky of him. Anyway,
Yeah,
going
he had
back.
a high rate of getting Mortal Coils and stuff, so maybe he was expecting the Mortal Coil.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Mortal Coil as well. So those are the two cards he was looking for. Didn't get either of them. And obviously Mortal Coils are a bit more likely to happen. But, yeah, anyway, going back to what I was mentioning earlier, Fuoliver just wants to develop one of his Akanai since he has the second Akanai anyway. And, after that he has the Cabal Shadow Priest, so he's not too worried about dying anytime soon. And if you can establish tempo as the priest, it's kind of the same as drawing cards in this sense. And getting tempo allows you to basically just stall for time in the future anyway.
Yes. What do you do here? He's working out that if you bump the cleric into one of the 2/2s, that 2/2 is just going to run into the soul piece anyway.
Hmm.
If you go face for one damage, he's gone for the one because he's sort of appreciated that. But I think I'll probably bump the minion anyway, just to make that trade.
Oh, right. The problem is you don't really know what your opponent just chose out of that. I mean, if you believe it's Soulfire, maybe you think they're not going to play it. But it could be another power overwhelming, and it wasn't the one drop that hit the field right now, so that 2/1 just could, kill your Akanai.
You have the option here to just buff your stuff and start going absolutely crazy at the face with that double power overwhelming as well. I think this is the right option to clear. It usually is in Zoo.
Right. I mean,
But,
these days, particularly in the Chinese meta, you're expecting to see, flash heals. So if you go a little bit too crazy, you're kind of just throwing away cards that, get countered by the flash heal essentially.
Got to make sure he taps a hell of a lot from now onwards, though, because otherwise the priest is just going to get pretty dominant position here. He has no way in hand of dealing with that Mal'Ganis at the moment.
Right.
Though.
So just going to be Akanai here. Not going to get too greedy and wait for anything bigger. I mean, obviously he has a second Akanai. And this deck could actually bait out something bigger. Speaking of Akanai. But will we see the Mal'Ganis come out this turn? He I mean, if
You just
you're
play the boom. It's just so good at putting stuff on the board.
well, you could
And
just sacrifice your Void Caller and then play Boom. Um, but then you're really dead to Light Bomb. Maybe you
yeah,
want to
you
space out your
could bump the
threats.
void caller into the 1/1,
Hmm.
so that light bomb would mean that the Mal'Ganis comes out. I think that might be my play here,
Hmm.
and then just go face with the 1/1, or even um, his 4/5 would have been fine as well. This is fine too.
Right. So just gonna go with this here and just make his Void Caller bigger. He has two Defender Vargas. So that's an interesting situation. In any case, Justicar hits the hand, which is very nice with this Akanai Soul Priest. It makes your hero power absolutely insane for killing off creatures. And also, it keeps you alive for a long time. Again, it's kind of like that card draw, right? You're able to stall so long with this Justicar. But
Yes.
what do you do here if you're Fuoliver? You have kind of a lot of options, actually. You could go for the Akanai, excuse me, the Cabal onto the 2/3 Defender, which is a pretty okay value, getting a 2/3 out of that. You could also opt for the Death Lord, and if you were really adventurous, maybe you put up the Valence Chosen on your Death Lord. You could also just Akanai Flash Shield the Void Caller and hope nothing comes out. Obviously, we do see that would be a bit of a disaster. But going to be
With this
the
play is owl, right? If this gets owled, you've kind of lost so much out of it.
well, typically, I mean, you're not too sad if it gets out. It's bad, obviously, but that means that you're not pulling anything out of your opponent's deck, and you don't really have Light Bomb right now, so that could be a disaster. And also, if it gets out, it's a 2/8 that just is able to do combat on the field.
So what do you do here the other way around? You just okay. So he's not going to develop boom. He is going to try and presumably develop his Mal'Ganis. Although he'll be playing around death, so maybe
Hmm.
not. This is fine. Um, Trying to get that killed on his own terms.
Right.
Interesting that he didn't want the gang boss in play for when the Void Core was propped.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate that the in-game boss was picked up here. If it, however, if it does hit the field, you can buff it up to a 4/6, which is kind of nice the following turn.
Yeah, it works out not too badly actually. You'd just rather it go the other way, I guess.
I kind of like
Um,
playing the Justicar here just to get a lot of power onto the board, but it looks like there's going to be some card draw. And Shadow Word Pain, is that useful
I think
here?
he's feeling like he needs the death. I think he's sensing the Mal'Ganis.
Okay, and he's
Or
got,
similar, like even Doomguard would be something awkward to deal with here.
ooh, Light Bomb is a really big pickup
Yes.
right now. He needed something like that to be able to deal with what's coming up in the future.
Yeah, and that'll
And,
work well. He can actually pain the egg as well before he light bombs if he wants
right.
next turn. No, he's just got to. Yeah, he's just got to
Sorry,
play this
I just
guessing game you have to play against
I
Zoom.
just love using pain as a verb. I'm going to pain you. You can pain the egg. You can give that egg lots of pain.
Yeah,
Uh,
Hearthstone Speak does get a bit over the top at times like that. Choosing to kill the 2/3, which
he probably figures that this egg is going to be buffed anyway. He doesn't really need to deal with it. But
getting rid of the 2/3 is good because if he had only had a power overwhelming and not the abusive, that would have protected the Doomguard as well. Because you deal in 2s and 4s as Warlock mostly.
mhm. So yeah, it's probably going to be this in-game. Ooh, well, that's not too bad actually. If you get that off of the Void Callers, it's obviously fine. So going to be the in-game boss plus the power overwhelming and the abusive sergeant, I presume. And
Now he's got to decide whether he wants to keep the egg as a 0/2 as some sort of protection against AoE, or whether he just wants to make a 4/4 and not worry about Light Bomb.
mhm.
Um,
The thing is, if the
It was
Doomguard
supposed to
comes out, you can just start clearing stuff on the board, which is nice.
yeah.
And Owl comes out, which is a bit unfortunate for Zhangbo. One of the worst minions you can really get off of that.
Yeah, he may need that later for other stuff, if there is a later. I mean, there's a
So
lot of stuff suddenly on this board.
yeah, Fuoliver looks like he's reaching for the greedy option here. Potentially, he might take this M King boss, and I guess playing this Deathlord is kind of okay because you're really fine with more stuff coming out here.
Yeah, because you've got Light Bomb in hand. Got to go for this though now. If you're on the other side, you've just got to buff everything.
Hmm.
That Cabal should be an alert to some degree though.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, if that
Not an
light bomb
easy
was like
one.
a flash heal, then then it would just be, the fact of the matter would have been that Fuoliver's
Yeah.
just in trouble here. But yeah, there's no way you don't light bomb here. And what's coming after this? Are we going to see a heal and pass? Or are we going to see the Akanai? I see the Akanai, actually.
No, that's a brave and good move, I think.
Yeah, and he actually just has lethal the following turn. And he has 6 damage out of hand just by playing that now. And I believe that's just lethal, isn't it? 6 plus
Yeah, with the
6 is
adjusted card,
12.
it's lethal.
That's exactly lethal there. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nicely worked out.
So just going to be counting
That
here
was
is
cool.
Fuoliver. And Zhangbo, you can see him kind of be like, oops. I guess this is the end for me.
He
And
seemed a
just,
little bit tentative there, Jumbo, to actually get his stuff on the board. All the trading's fine, that's what you have to do as Zoo, but he didn't seem keen to get that boom out earlier when he could maybe have developed it.
right. I mean,
In hindsight, of course.
if your opponent has light bomb, you're kind of just playing into that. He was just kind of testing the waters, trying to see what Fuoliver could potentially have. To be honest, it's a really nerve-wracking matchup if you are the Zoo player because you
Yes.
never know what the Priest player could have and what kind of answers they have in hand.
Oh, there's a lot of decisions there. I wasn't really being critical, just saying in hindsight, maybe if he got that on the board, it would have protected his Mal'Ganis and possibly led him to be able to keep that on. But then you're playing around Shadow Word Death as well, because you expect them to have Light Bomb and the Death, so what are you really trying to bait out, I guess?
Exactly. Well, it is tied 1-1. Keep in mind this is single elimination, unlike the group stages where players had several chances. So whoever wins this is on to the round of 8, picks up $800, and has the chance to move on farther in the match. And the loser obviously is out of the tournament. Now we have a very interesting matchup and a complete 180 here for Zhangbo from his group stages. He played a lot of aggressive decks. Now he's going for the Murloc Paladin.
Yeah, and this is a matchup that I wanted to see, but I don't know much about the matchup against Patron.
Uh,
Um,
Murloc Paladin on paper wins this matchup
yeah,
because
I know against Control Warrior it's like 95% or something, like even bigger than the old Warrior Freeze Mages were.
the
But
thing is,
against Patron,
Patron.
I assume the Patron has fight back mechanics, but there's so much board clear
Mhm. The
with the
thing is,
qualities with the Doomsayers.
whenever I've seen Patron win, it's because they never played Patron.
Yeah,
It
sure, that makes sense.
it
So it's
takes
two Patrons here because they just die to everything.
right. It's too many resources that you have to use to get out the patrons, and then they just die, and then you feel like crap because you spent your entire turn making something that just died. So you
And
have
actually,
to.
that ties in. I watched a match last night where
Mhm.
the Patron won just by going Berserker into Coco and Elite into
Right.
Unstable Ghoul to block some stuff and buff them into player true, not true zero, Death Bite and kill you.
Right. You just have
And
to
like
be
you said,
extremely aggressive, like you mentioned. And True Silver is going to be nice to kill off this Frothing Berserker right away. Unfortunately, you are allowing your opponent to continue to draw cards, but I think Zhangbo kind of has to commit to this. By the way, we saw Zhangbo. He didn't actually attack the face with his. Oh, he's going to throw it away. Actually, this is nice here from Zhangbo. I'm going to take extra damage, unfortunately, but yeah, it's going to prevent his opponent from drawing even more cards. And again, on turn 2, after he played, or turn 3 actually, after he played his Silver and Riku, he didn't actually attack the face. Didn't want the ability for his opponent to draw cards there with Battle Rage.
hmm yeah, yeah, he's got the Solemn Vigil, he's got the Murloc, he's going to at some point just equality consecration and draw a load of cards. That's how it looks at the moment
Mm-hmm.
against the Patron board. Because he
But
doesn't mind he can take this one. You can take this one all day long.
mm-hmm. So going to be this Bluegill Warriors killing off this Acolyte of Pain. I wonder if there's a commitment to this Doomsayer. Nope, just going to go with this Solemn Vigil. Sometimes what players do, and what we've seen actually Fuoliver go with a lot, which is ironic considering Fuoliver's on the other side, is a pet play of his is to go for the Doomsayer plus Hero Power. And when nothing is cleared off, he is able to Solemn Vigil for 3 the following turn and get his card engine draw rolling.
I guess against Patron, you want to be greedier than that.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense, like you say, just to get the Arcane Intellect casting cost, because there's cards you can cycle. But I guess against Patron, he's being a bit loath to
Right.
burn those quite so easily.
So this is nice for Zhangbo. Obviously, Fuoliver, he just played this out just, because to get some stuff on the field. The Frothing Berserker just dies to this True Silver. And yeah, this Doomsayer is going to be very
Now
annoying.
the Patron's gone, he's a lot happier too.
Right. And we have two ways to clear an entire board in the hand of Zhangbo. We have Power Equality and a second equality plus Consecrate. The only problem is he can't really develop his own minions, so if Fuoliver kind of plays a few minions, but it's not good enough essentially to kill for Zhangbo using those combos, then maybe he can sneak some damage in. Speaking of Fuoliver.
Yeah. Still haven't actually seen any Murlocs to finish this off with, so he's going to get a little bit of time at least to do the damage. But that's all. I mean, we see this hand. It's Pyromancer equality, Doomsayer, second equality, Consecration. That's how many board clears you need to beat Patron. Not many, right?
Well, again, this is kind of problematic, right? Because you might have to use one of your pieces here, be it Equality Consecrate or Power Equality, to kill out this Doctor Boom. You don't really want to be face taking it and using that Hammer of Wrath, especially because the Boom Boss can do more damage as well. You might just die to a Grom top deck right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can actually just hurt him here. Like you say, he's going to take these Boom Bots, which is there's the heal bot. That's
I'm actually going to do it this way, which is pretty interesting. Just went for the Equality plus the Hammer of Wrath, and saving his two Consecrates right here, which is pretty nice. So there's the two Grom top deck, speaking of which, and that means there's 14 damage.
he's going to go for this, right?
He's just going to hit the face, it looks like.
Hit
Yeah,
for 12,
14
have Boom
damage,
Bots
and
do
then
7.
the boom bots have to hit for 5, which is I think about a 60-something% chance that the game is over right now.
They're going to average
it's 60.
4.5. Yeah, it's going to be over 50-50.
Right, so
It might actually be exactly 50-50.
you see Fuoliver fist pumping. This is a no tomorrow move. You fist pump before it happens because you know it's going to happen. There's a 2. There's the 1. Oh no!
And he's got the heal as well.
Wow! Oh no! Oh, that is painful to see. And you see Zhangbo, his heart skipped a beat there.
I mean, yeah, he's looking at losing there from a really good hand against a guy with not a good hand in a favoured matchup.
That is as all in as you can get, and definitely Fuoliver is on the back foot now.
Yeah, that's completely nuts.
Ooh, this is it looks pretty nice for him, right? He gets to clear the board, make 4 patrons, but unfortunately there's another set of removal on the side of Zhangbo.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to come back from this. It's not completely impossible because the heal bot's not going to get the chance to be played yet.
Well, he could go Power Equality heal bot and just save the Consecrate. It looks like that's going to be the play.
That's going to be the way to play it, yeah.
And actually even just the Sledge Belcher here for the bigger body.
Yeah, that's plenty. And, I mean, that's game because of the heal bot in hand now. I don't think there's enough stuff. Oh,
Finley is helpful, but you can't pick really the Priest Hero Power anymore for your patrons. Warlock is probably the play here. I mean, Mage can be useful, but you need to just keep going right now. Battle Rage does nothing. This is looking really bad for Fuoliver. Man.
yeah, I can't see how he can win. He's been so unlucky there. Those boom bots hit, he goes 2-1 up, having won the unfavoured matchup as well.
Right.
And
just gonna pick Concede. Wow. Zhangbo takes the game and sigh of relief there, and just patting his heart one more time. Zhangbo takes a 2-1 series lead here, and he is on match point to move to the round of 8.
Yep, and just the zoo remaining to get through. He's got to get through that patron, which probably isn't that bad for Zoo these days compared to the old patron.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that's somewhere in the region of 50-50. And what's the other deck? Is that his own Paladin deck?
Right, he has his own Paladin deck, which we haven't seen, and it could be more like Paladin once more. Patron is more than 50-50, I would say. Just to respond to your question. Sorry, I was looking at something else for a second there, but it is a bit better of a matchup, but yeah, obviously going to be the Zoo coming out from Zhangbo since it's his last deck. Kind of an interesting lineup, actually, now that we've had a chance to see the whole lineup, essentially. Goes with the Zoo, but also goes with the Murloc Paladin, interestingly enough. But
yeah, he's had something of every speed, like compared to, say, Sleepy Shaman's lineup, which he had 2 control decks and 2 basically aggro decks, if you count Druid as aggro, depending how you want to look at that. We have here just one of everything. We have a Rogue,
a mid-range druid, a zoo, and a slow Murloc deck. You kind of there's one of each. So whatever you ban, you're facing sort of 3 different decks. So that's an
Right.
interesting way to build your lineup. Yeah.
Well, if you are the patron, it's pretty nice to get Fire Warx right on time to start killing stuff off. Unfortunately, well, Fuoliver does have obviously the Dread Corsair in hand right now, but doesn't really have a way to kill off the M-King boss in hand. And actually, Zhangbo's just going to go for this Haunted Creeper. Okay. Ooh, but that's an Acolyte of Pain. Do you go for the Acolyte of Pain here or no? The thing is, if
spiders, it's so tempting.
you kind of want to kill the Haunted Creeper if you go for the Acolyte of Pain, because then if there's an Abusive Sergeant, then at least the Spectral Spider dies. If you play the Acolyte of Pain now and there's an Abusive Sergeant, it's kind of bad for you. It's a pretty bad trade, and it still lives. And it's kind of annoying to get rid of the spider and then deal with the spiders afterward. But then, obviously, if you attack, you're not developing your Dread Corsair, so that can be part of the issue. Alright, so Finley Murgleton hits the field, and this is kind of tough, right? You kind of want to draw more cards here just to have a way to deal with your opponent, but then you're hurting yourself, which could be problematic. Priest can be nice because you can heal your patrons and keep them alive, and obviously keep them potent. And also you can heal yourself, which can be important against Warlock as well. But he goes for the other one, which is the Druid, obviously.
Yeah, I was thinking that Druid, it splits the difference. You're still half a warrior. You don't want to go for Warlock because your deck's not built to do the same things his is, so you're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Right.
And I felt that Priest just wasn't going to be impactful enough without having those patrons in hand. So this kind of means he can take down things and still armor up a little bit. I think this is okay.
Well, by attacking in Zhangbo kind of enables Battle Rage, but that was a possibility anyway. Just wants this Dread Corsair to die to this M-King boss if there's some sort of trade there. But, yeah, I mean, this is kind of an interesting turn here for Fuoliver because all of these plays are good plays, but none of them are slam dunk. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so he goes for the Battle Rage. I mean, you're not going to get too much better of a Battle Rage than that, even though the Acolyte of Pain may have drawn you more cards in the end. But this is reasonable here. I'm just going to go ahead and kill this off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always something you don't want to do is get rid of that thing. But when you've got a deck that is great at dealing with toughness guys, you might as well go with it.
Mm-hmm.
I see finding himself in a pretty good position now.
Right, I mean, this M-King boss seems like it would be annoying for Oliver to deal with if you're looking from Zhangbo's perspective, but we do see the Deathbite in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we also see the Core Kernel which is nice for these situations as well, right? If you don't have the Deathbite. But, yeah, Zhangbo, I mean, all of these things, everything you play here is kind of not the greatest. I suppose you can go for the most annoying board possible and go for the Nerubian Egg with the M-King boss.
Just to make sure that... Yeah, that's pretty awkward to deal with.
Yeah.
Like you say, just making it awkward for your opponent with a dog in hand as well, so you can actually try and sacrifice that off as well. Where do you put the egg?
On the right
Okay,
side is
I'll give it
fine
this.
because you can hop. You can basically imp hop with the Direwolf Alpha, and then
Yeah.
if you put the egg in between, it kind of makes that a bit more difficult.
Yeah, I like this. And setting up, like you say, just making it awkward because he knows he's getting behind here.
Do you
And
whirlwind
so-
here? I mean, you have more whirlwind effects in your hand, but I guess this you
In
have
a way.
you have the Deathbite in hand anyway. I guess you could just go for the Acolyte or the Frothing Berserker next turn. He's also played this Deathbite after the Nerubian Egg, excuse me. So if he attacks the Nerubian Egg, the Whirlwind will damage the Nerubian, so that obviously activates Execute. Though you might not want to do that, especially because there's potentially big guys in the zoo.
Yeah, and game's still in the balance because with all these big stuff in the hand and the imps, it's still possible for Zoo to win this. But it does look really control-y and good for Fuoliver at this point. He's got enough burst, he's got enough removal, he should be okay here.
Right, and he's gonna go for what I mentioned earlier, which is this Frothing Berserker and the Acolyte. The only problem with playing the Frothing Berserker and making it pretty big here, it's gonna be what looks like a 7-3. The problem is that now the Implosion has a 2 in 3 chance rather than a 1 in 3 chance of killing it off.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Because he's got to have the implosion as well. So,
Oh, well, this is just going to be a power overwhelming anyway.
yeah.
Alright, so power overwhelming comes in this egg, going to be a 4/4 hitting the field, as well as that Void Caller, and whatever it calls, it's going to be very good. And we now see the Patron come into the hand of Fuoliver. Only has the room for 1 activator right now. On 8 mana, he could potentially use the Whirlwind and play out that Unseeable Ghoul afterward. But looking... It's kind of just an interesting situation for him, right? I mean, you can go ahead and kill off that Void Caller and then kill whatever comes out of it by using Execute, but then do you use your Whirlwind so that it dies, a bit easier? Looking like he's reaching for that Core Kernel lead here.
I think this is okay because he can kill off the. You're always scared of these void callers, so I think you have to get rid of whatever's going to come out of it now on your terms, while you can.
Well, I
you
mean,
can't do much damage.
the Execute is only 1 though.
Okay.
Right. I mean, the Execute is only 1. The thing is, I'm actually a bit surprised there wasn't a Fiery Warx plus the hero, was the Druid hero power there to kill off the Nerubian if he's going to go for that play.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I suppose
Maybe he forgot.
Maybe he doesn't want to take too much damage.
No, I don't like to say maybe he forgot of pro players, but it is an interaction that is kind of strange if you've not played a huge amount of Patron.
Right.
Um.
So
Of course, we see it sharp.
apparently we have some arguing in chat over the odds of the Boombot's last game, but we're gonna stay out of that, guys. Anyway,
I know it's over 50-50 because the middle range is 5. You're going to roll 5 a lot, and you only need
Right.
5, so it's got to be higher than that. It'll be exactly half of the time be over 5. I'm keeping out the rest of it.
So Zhangbo now is very, very sad because he has that Loatheb in hand that could have potentially stopped this from happening. And Fuoliver are going to take a bit of a chance here, putting this Unseeable Ghoul down rather than playing the second Whirlwind. But definitely makes sense with this kind of board, because obviously the 2 Void Callers could start taking stuff out. And going to go for Implosion, even though these imps are going to die straight away, because he doesn't want any more patrons hitting the field. And that's going to potentially pop this Doomguard. Looks like it did, which is nice for him. And now he's going to actually clear the board and play a Mal'Ganis. And I guess it didn't really matter then, the order, but that was pretty nice there.
Yeah, quite a lot of stuff going on here, and he knows this is like the game either way this turn. And
Right, so if you're Fuoliver here, I mean, once this Mal'Ganis goes away, this Doomguard's going to go, it's still going to be at 6 health. So I think, hold on, if he Whirlwinds, it goes down to 5. Then he can execute the Mal'Ganis, slam the Doomguard, potentially not in that order, but he can clear with just his Fire Warx right now.
yeah.
Right, so, he's going to slam first, which is a bit odd.
So that makes it. Maybe he's not bothered about taking 1 hit from the Doomguard.
Yeah, I suppose if there's no Mal'Ganis in the field, it's not too big of a deal. But, I mean, let's see. You could play, I mean, the Whirlwind doesn't really help too much. I think you just play both of these Armor Smiths.
Yeah, it sets up at least sort of 3 more armor and possibly more.
He's going to actually attack the face with this,
He's played really aggressively the last 2 or 3 turns for that face damage as well. Either not wanting to face tank, or he wants to restrict the tapping of the Warlock. Possibly a bit of both.
I imagine it's going to be this Loatheb coming out here, and not the Doctor. Ooh, it is going to be Doctor Boom. I suppose with only Grom, you're not going to die to. It has to be Grom's cool task, but then he's not 14 anyway. So what am I talking about? But yeah, Yolo. I mean, Fuoliver's put himself in kind of an awkward spot right here. He could have dealt with the board last turn, but elected not to. In particular, not using, the Whirlwind. He
Yeah, now
can
he's in a
sort of
situation
deal
where
with this board, but he's getting rid of his Grom if he does, so
Yeah.
most likely.
you're in that position as a control player where you start making inefficient plays and you know you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Just to not die, which is obviously you have to make inefficient plays if it means not dying. Is there a thing here where maybe he can play the Grom, Hero Power Boombot, and see what happens, and just hope to hit the Grom?
Well, it doesn't matter if it's the Grom, because he's not going to win the game anyway. I mean, he can
Sure.
just Grom Whirlwind and try to hit the face, but it's a bit awkward. The one thing you do know is that you've seen a powerwhelming, you've seen two abusive, so maybe you could go face and force your opponent to attack into you.
Mhm.
The other thing you can do is hit the Doomguard and just play the Unseeable Ghoul, which looks like he's going to do. Unfortunately, these Boombots are probably just going to kill the Grom.
Yeah, they've got a good chance of that. Um,
Wow! So that defender is pretty huge here, because now this Doomguard lives and will do 6 damage to face. So it looks like it's going to be hitting with the Boombots first. Just to see if they can clear it out. It's 5 to the face, and now it's going to be even more damage to the face. I imagine he's not going to bother with this Grom. Oh, I guess
Now the Lotheb's there, he probably doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to, but
right.
he
So
can also choose to, right?
yeah, he has enough damage on the board, and his opponent can execute and for 6 and do almost nothing else probably.
Yeah.
If he has the execute, which he probably doesn't because he didn't use it last time. So yeah, that's going to be it. I mean, we've been going back and forth about all the crazy decisions that game was, but really insane game overall, and well played by Zhangbo. And he moves on. You can tell he's very excited to get to the round of 8.
Yeah, Fuoliver doesn't look overly disappointed. I think he knows that, you know, he was struggling after that loss in game 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously, he's going to be absolutely crushed inside. But I think he realised sort of that after losing that reversal with the patron deck, that it was really going to be difficult for him.